evening, I'm Kevin Christopher.
And I'm Nancy Cox. Thank you for joining us at 6. Hurricane Florence is the strongest storm to target the Carolinas in decades.
Millions of people have been ordered to evacuate before the Category 3 storm makes landfall. Here is a live look at Cherry Grove, South Carolina. That's near Myrtle Beach, where right now conditions look pretty good for an evening stroll in the sand. But that's expected to worsen, and soon. Now this is what it looks like a little farther north in Surf City, North Carolina, where you can see the wind has picked up a little bit and those ominous clouds are rolling in. This is the last day to outrun a powerful hurricane, with millions of people from Virginia to the Carolinas heading away from the coast, with forecasters calling this the storm of a lifetime. Every minute counts.
I'm just stressed out to the max, thinking, am I going to have a home to come back to?
Enough to make me a native of New Orleans leave.
3,000 National Guard personnel have been activated. The rain and wind are expected to start moving onto the coast tonight. For the latest track of this potentially catastrophic storm, let's check in with meteorologist Seth Phillips. He's in for Bill tonight. Seth?
And as we continue to keep tabs on Florence, it seems like a little bit of weakening has occurred in the last few updates. And that's mainly because of the storm being so massive. All of the inner bands of thunderstorms are all trying to get as close to the center as possible. And as they do, it causes the eye to go through what's called a replacement cycle. When that happens, it sort of weakens the storm just a little bit. So that's why, as of the 5 o'clock update, Hurricane Florence is a Category 3, but it's still a high-end Category 3. 120 mile per hour sustained winds and gusts as high as 150. Still moving northwest at about 16 miles per hour. That really hasn't changed much since, as it moved through between the Bahamas and Bermuda. It kind of kept that same forward speed. So it's inching along, but it is getting closer. In fact, with our radar sites out on the East Coast, we're starting to see some of those outer rain bands get a little bit closer, but even the outer cloud bands, which are basically just that high cirrus, are already starting to make their way onshore as well. So it's only a matter of time before this picture with the sunshine and the nice weather eventually starts to turn a little bit more dire for them in North Carolina and, of course, South Carolina as well. So what will that bring to us? What is Florence going to bring to Kentucky? We'll talk more about that in your full forecast.
Thank you, Seth.
Well, not even the military is immune to Mother Nature's power. 6
Osprey aircraft landed at Bluegrass Airport from North Carolina today to escape Hurricane Florence. Claire Crouch has more about their stay here in Lexington.
After battening down the hatches and getting out of town, military personnel are doing the same.
We put what planes we could in hangars, and the ones that we couldn't or didn't have room for, we flew out of the area to get out of the path of the storm.
Today, the thundering propellers from 6 Osprey aircraft could be heard over Lexington, landing safely at the West LEX facility of Bluegrass Airport.
They're expensive aircraft, so we just don't want to have them hanging out on the flight line, so we get them out as well.
About 30 Marines are accompanying the aircraft from Air Station New River, located in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and they'll make themselves at home in Lexington for the next few days.
Be hanging out at the hotels. I know there's a football game this weekend, so we might try to hit that up as well.
They may also spend some time training or could even be dispatched to help with storm damage.
We're watching the Weather Channel, so it's kind of depends on what the aftermath is. If it's bad, a lot of flooding and stuff, we might have to be here a few extra days.
Depending on just how bad the storm is, they could be here till next week. Anxious as everyone else to see just how much of a punch Florence will pack.
Yeah, we're hoping that it blows by quick and we can get back to training.
Covering the news in Lexington, Claire Crouch, LEX 18 News.
For the most vulnerable in the path of Florence, evacuating can be an arduous task. As LEX 18's Mike Valenti explains, Signature Healthcare's assisted living facility in Lexington is welcoming residents from Norfolk, Virginia.
Safe and sound. That's how Tanbark's administrator describes the 61 residents who arrived this morning after being evacuated from a sister facility in Virginia. They arrived in 2 charter buses early this morning, the culmination of 2 days of planning and hoping that logistical challenges wouldn't get in the way.
Obviously, we have to bring all the medications. The patient, it's a long ride for them, so we have to accommodate for that.
And they launched a command center, brought in extra wheelchairs, beds, food, and even a therapy dog.
So we just really have the full gamut to make sure their needs are met.
Residents' rights advocate Linda Dickinson says now was the time to act because a day or two later might have been too late.
Because we've seen stories of senior living and residents that were not able to get out, or they got out after the storm started. And these people aren't going to experience that. They're going to be at home.
As for the Virginia facility, that's been boarded up, and once the storm passes, the company will assess the damage. But management is prepared to keep these residents indefinitely. Covering the news in Lexington, from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom. Back to you.
24 brave volunteers are headed to Raleigh, North Carolina. These emergency crews are all trained in swiftwater rescue. They're coming from Louisville Division of Fire, and Jefferson County Water Rescue Team will be the first emergency management crews from Kentucky to help in the aid.
Well, it's an honor to be selected by Director Dawsett and the State Emergency Management to go. You know, it's one of those things where we, states need help, and one day, God forbid, we may need help as well, and some states may have to come and help us. So, we have to lend that helping hand. Now,
this group will be deployed for the next 10 days, and they say they're ready if more crews need to be sent. Stay with LEX 18 after our newscast. Tonight on NBC Nightly News, Lester Holt is live in the storm zone as Hurricane Florence turns closer to the coast and millions rush to prepare for the worst. That's at 6:30. Right here on LEX 18.
Back here at home, the search for a missing 9-year-old in Rowan County continues tonight, 4 days after he was swept away by swift water. Search crews took advantage of low water levels this afternoon, walking Triplet Creek and checking debris piles. Coordinators scaled back volunteer efforts after nearly 300 people headed out yesterday. Today, many still walked the creek and searched by kayak. Rescuers are calling this a recovery mission at this point, and they say they won't stop the search effort until the boy is found. Count on LEX 18 to bring you storm tracker weather updates around the clock on our website, lex18.com. The Scott County Sheriff says he is in shock because one of his deputies was shot last night and seriously injured.
LEX 18's Catherine Collins is live at UK Medical Center, where 28-year-old Jamie Morales has had 2 surgeries since last night.
That's right. Scott County Sheriff Tony Hampton says he's been here to the hospital to visit with Deputy Morales and his family, and he says he will be back. He says although Deputy Morales has only been with the department for 2.5 years, he's already well known in the community. In the Marines, bilingual. Scott County Sheriff Tony Hampton says 28-year-old Jamie Morales has been a great addition to the sheriff's office since he was brought on 2.5 years ago. But last night, Sheriff Hampton got a call unlike any other he's received in his more than 20 years with the department.
We're in shock. We're in shock.
Hampton says Morales was shot near the back while assisting with an arrest at this I-75 rest stop. He was rushed into surgery last night. Sheriff Hampton saw him today.
I told him I loved him and that we all loved him and that we'd be with him and he was going to get through this. And we're all going to pull together and get him through it.
Deputy Morales' injuries are serious, but the entire Scott County community is behind him.
We pray for him every day. I do.
Troopers say Deputy Morales was assisting with the arrest of Edward Reynolds, who was wanted for armed robbery in Florida. Reynolds was killed in the gunfire. Sheriff Hampton says it's common for deputies to assist other agencies with arrests. The sheriff says Deputy Morales had another surgery this afternoon. He's listed in critical but stable condition. Covering the news live in Lexington from the LEX 18 Mobile Newsroom. Back to you.
2 political heavyweights here in Kentucky were in court today after being charged with campaign finance fraud.
Michael Burke has the latest on the case from downtown Lexington.
The father of Kentucky's Secretary of State, Jerry Lundgren, and his co-defendant, Dale Emmons, were in federal court today where both waived their right to a reading of a formal 10-count indictment. 2 staples in Kentucky's political landscape are facing charges of conspiracy to commit campaign finance fraud. The allegations stem from Secretary of State Allison Lundgren Grimes' failed Senate run of 4 years ago. The United States Attorney's Office accuses Mr. Lundgren of paying for Emmons' consulting services without campaign money and then attempting to cover up those payments. Lundgren's attorney isn't sure what crime has been committed.
That a father could be subjected to criminal charges for using his own resources that he's earned by the sweat of his own brow to help his own daughter run for public office.
True continues to assert the amounts involved were a pittance compared to what the Secretary's campaign raised on its own, roughly $25 million.
And even if you gave the government the full benefit of the doubt, you're talking about less than 1%.
True also believes the timing of this indictment could impact the next 2 elections. Covering the news in Lexington, Michael Burke, LEX 18 News.
A federal appeals court rules that free speech protects President Trump's comments at a Kentucky rally.
More about the dismissal of a lawsuit next on LEX 18 News at 6.